now is the time when we enter into our time of meditation. Just allow your feet to root firmly to Mother Earth, allowing her nourishment to fill every cell of your body. Just feeling your breath move effortlessly, just in and gently out. Allowing the seat to comfortably support you, or the floor or the earth. And I invite you to now bring your focus to the breath. The ease to which it happens so naturally. Perhaps you hear the breath as it flows gently in and gently out. But do you truly hear the breath? Maybe you hear the sound. But do you truly hear the breath? Do you truly hear the breath with perhaps your heart? Perhaps your mind? Perhaps your soul? What is it that the breath may really be saying to you? What divine message is within the breath? Is it saying, "Hear me and relax"? Hear me and just be. Hear me and allow yourself to expand. Hear me and feel the beauty which is all around you. What is it that the breath is saying to you here today, right now, in this moment? As we prepare to move into the silence, I invite you to not only listen with your physical ears, but go within. What is the breath saying to you right now as we enter into the silence? Did you hear it? Did you hear the whisper from the lips of the divine within the breath? What did it say to you? What did it say that is yours today to do? Yours today to be? What message did it give through the breath? Maybe it's just to be in this moment. Maybe it's calling you to be more than you ever dared to be. Maybe it's calling you to expand your wings and to fly. As you begin to bring your awareness back into this moment, know that this breath and the message contained within is forever inside you. You just have to listen. You just have to go within and you have to listen. Let's take one more breath into this moment. And gently exhale. And know that you are. Namaskar. And we continue to go within and just think about who it is we are, and to think about that connection we have with the divine as we move into our time. That was our special music today. Our music director, Pete, and Rachel was kind enough to join us this morning to assist with special music, so we thank you both for that. That was amazing and very beautiful. And that kind of music just really just starts to center my soul and just really, for me, music just strengthens that connection to the divine and just gives me those really feel-good feelings, so to speak. So I hope it does the same for you. And I know it might not be quite the same hearing it from home, but hopefully you are still receiving those beautiful benefits from that. So I want to start today by asking you to just be quiet for a moment. And I want to ask you, can you really hear it? Or did you perhaps hear nothing? Or was it that you really didn't hear nothing at all? Maybe you heard the silence. How do you really know whether you heard nothing or whether you heard the silence? Maybe you heard much, much more. Maybe you just weren't aware of it. Maybe it doesn't come to you now, but it will at a later date. Maybe later on this afternoon. Maybe at the end of this talk. Maybe a year from now. Maybe it will come perhaps when it's the most needed. So today I want to kick off a small series of teachings on the Tao. And I want to talk about just how powerful those teachings can be, especially if you combine them with unity principles. Now the Tao teaches us, if you want to be rich, stop chasing after the things of the world. Go inside. What you find will stop you dead. And you will want no more. So go inside. Where have I heard that before? That sounds a little familiar, doesn't it? Something we mention quite often here at Unity if you've been involved in Unity for any length of time. And if you haven't, consider today your first day. You're going to hear about going inside. But let's talk about ways to go inside and what often can happen when we make a commitment to do it and we take it a step further and we actually do it. We go from committing to doing it. So I'd like to start off by talking a little bit about listening. Now, listening seems really easy, doesn't it? It seems like it's such a passive activity when you really think about it. You talk, I listen. I talk, you listen. The birds chirp outside, I listen to them chirping. I hear the wind blowing the chimes outside of my office, I listen. But do I really? Am I hearing sound? Well, I'm hearing your voice, right? When you talk, you're hearing my voice. I'm hearing the birds chirp. I'm hearing the chimes. But am I really listening? Maybe what I'm hearing is just that which is on the surface. Maybe there's much, much more that's hidden beneath the surface. Maybe, just maybe, I'm hearing, but I'm not truly practicing the art of listening. So I ask myself a question. I ask, what might happen if I make the choice to not only hear with my ears, but to truly listen with perhaps my heart and my mind and my soul? What might happen? How deep might it really go at that point? So the Tao teaches, drop what is imposed. Find the way that is natural to you. Your own flow is in harmony with the Tao. So what are some of the things that can truly or might prevent me from truly listening and truly practicing the art of listening? Now, I don't know about you, but I find it really hard to concentrate when I have clutter in my life. And I'm not talking about material clutter, although that is a big one, and it can, really cause a lot of distraction. But I'm talking more about the clutter that takes place right inside of here. The place where probably we experience 99% of our clutter on a day-to-day basis. And it can be just about anything that causes that clutter, can it? Our thoughts, our states of emotion, lots of things that tend to take place right inside of here. Now, I don't have to tell you that our lives keep us pretty busy, whether we're quarantined in our homes, whether we're going about our daily lives, either pre or post-COVID-19. At 8 o'clock in the morning, we're wondering what we're going to have for dinner. Then we start thinking, oh no, but before dinner comes, I got all these things I have to do before dinner. I have to finish this report for work or for this volunteer project I'm working on. I have to head to the store. I have to pick up the kids. I have to pick up the grandkids, whatever the case may be. But this is a good scenario because sometimes we're thinking way beyond dinner, right? We're pondering way into the future. What if this doesn't work out? What if it does? What if I catch this? What if I catch that? And before we know it, our thoughts can be way out there with monkey mind, right? Now, I remember once visiting at a zoo several years ago as a child, and I remember this big crowd is gathering around this one display, and I go over there, and there's those little monkeys, and they are all over the place. They're swinging, they're throwing food. I mean, they're having a great time. And I swear these things knew that we were watching them and were performing just for the people. Because every once in a while, one of them would have this little conniving look and look out at the audience to make sure we were all paying attention. But I'm watching them, and they are busy. They're all over the place. And watching them gave me a really good chuckle, but it was very easy for me to understand, thinking back about that, where the term monkey mind comes from. Now, the Tao teachings reveal that one way we can begin to gain control of a sometimes chaotic mind and be able to truly listen, but beyond what we hear with just our physical ears, is through contemplation. Now, in her book, The Tao of Contemplation, author Jasmine Lee Corey tells us that contemplation slows us down and sends us back inside ourselves. It is a path of stillness where the teacher is to be found within. But this teacher isn't like the teacher that we remember back from grade school, the one that's standing in front of class that we can see and hear with our physical ears and eyes, that's writing everything out on a chalkboard. The teacher that's inside isn't necessarily so easy to see and to hear, much less when we find ourselves in the midst of what we perceive as chaos. Now, author Jasmine Corey tells us that contemplation is reaching beneath the clatter of the mind to abide in silence and there encounter something. So the Tao teachings tell us muddy water let's stand, becomes clear. So take our current circumstances with COVID-19. Many of us see this happening, and we can begin to dwell on how awful we think it is. But if we pause for a moment, we can also begin to see that it's not necessarily as awful as what it could appear on the surface. I remember reading about some beautiful things, and I think I've mentioned these before, that are happening around the world right now. The canals in Italy that are usually murky have become crystal clear. The world has in many ways started to stand still, and as a result in Italy, the muddy water, the clutter usually found within it, has started to clear. Muddy water, let stand, becomes clear. So what happens when we start to remove some of that clutter? We begin to find empty space. And at first, sometimes empty space, quite shockingly, can seem a little frightening. Now, our author talks about how she thinks about emptiness and how, although she found it threatening at first, she has started to learn to appreciate it. So at first, we may kind of look around and realize those things that we had grown comfortable with are gone. We may not have given them much attention over the years, but it's almost as if suddenly we still miss them when they're gone, even though we may not even quite realize what it was that's gone in the first place. But let's think about what happens when some of that stuff is gone. And I'm not just talking about physical things here. I'm also talking about things that happen inside. So please accept this as we go through this talk as an invitation to explore this also on a metaphysical rather than just a literal level as well. So what happens when physical or emotional clutter is gone? A, we may begin to realize that we didn't need it nearly as badly as we thought we did. And B, we can begin to relax a little bit, right? I mean, hey, we've suddenly got all this space. We've got room to spread out. We've got to hang a hammock, to do a little bit of yoga. Whatever it is, we've got this space now. We have room to stretch out and a place to truly begin to relax into. And we can begin to relax a bit into that empty space. And when we do, we may even begin to notice the opportunities that lie there. And what if we only perceive the space as empty space? What if it is so much more than that? What if we've just created room for something else? Something other than clutter? What if it clears space to open ourselves to the presence of the divine within? In his book, Meditations, author Thomas More talks about how important empty spaces are in our lives. He says, just as a loaf of bread needs air in order to rise, we need empty spaces in our lives, times when we can withdraw from the world. And who doesn't currently have a need for some time right now to withdraw from the world? I know that I do. Another Taoist way in which we can listen and truly listen with our heart, mind, and soul is, and this kind of piggybacks a little bit on releasing the clutter, is through simplicity. The Tao teaches, letting go of complexity, I return to my nature, pure and simple being. It is so light and spacious. There is room for every sensation. Taking pleasure in simple moments, in simple things, life brings joy. So think minimalism here, but not really so much in a physical sense. While it can be very freeing and simplistic in a physical sense, let's bring it back around a little bit to the spiritual sense, which the Tao mentions as being our more essential nature, which is rich beyond imagination. So I kind of think that recent events has, in a way, forced us into a more simplistic way of life. Wouldn't you agree? First, there's the simplicity of being, and this can be approached from many different perspectives. But the one I want to talk about today is the simplicity that is often found in just being ourselves. So remember back to high school when you felt like you had to fit in. And I know there's other times in our lives where we feel this, but high school was one of those really important moments where you felt like you just had to fit in. I remember feeling I had to dress like everybody else, talk like everybody else, eat the same foods as everybody else. And my first job in high school was at a fast food restaurant. And I would pull in like $300 in 2 weeks. And I thought I was doing really good. I'd get that paycheck and be like, I think I'm rich. I really do. But during this time, the cool kids were wearing a very specific brand name pair of jeans, and I knew I just had to have that pair of jeans. So I go to purchase them, and I think it was like Nordstrom or something like that in the mall where I grew up. And the clerk tells me, she's like, these are the most expensive jeans in the entire store. I blew almost 2 weeks of my pay on those freaking jeans. I strutted around in those things at school like there was no tomorrow because I had on those cool, expensive jeans. But the truth be told, and if I'm being honest here, I hated those freaking things. I bought them. I hated the way they felt. I hated the way they fit. In reality, I just liked my plain old Levi's back then. They were comfortable. They were soft. They were nice cotton. But that wasn't what the cool kids were wearing. Oh, you're wearing Levi's? Pff, you can't be part of us. I would have been a lot more comfortable had I just chose to remain in my simplistic pair of Levi's. One of the meanings of the word simple is to just leave free from artificiality or display. So it's difficult to do that when I want to do what everyone else is doing or what somebody else told me I should do. When we do those things, we begin to lose touch with what it is that makes us unique. Those parts of ourselves that make us who we truly are. We begin to develop this false sense of self, and then we have to try to maintain that false sense of self, right? Trying to almost put like a square peg into a round hole. We start to listen to what the world around us is telling us, and it's usually with our physical ears because it's usually somehow tied to something that's in the physical world outside of ourselves. Think of all the books that are out there and all the websites and articles and blogs that are out there telling us how to live simple lives, something that should come so easily, or how to be our authentic selves. The shelves are lined with them. The internet is full of them because there is a need for this or they wouldn't be there. And these exist because we use those things outside of ourselves to define who we are, and it's often false. I don't have that really expensive pair of jeans. I don't fit in. I don't drive that new Tesla. My car is a piece of junk. My glasses aren't brand name like hers are. I must be poor. Whatever the case is, we look for that constant validation in the world around us because we are listening from in here and from here. We aren't listening from in here what's inside. What the teacher in here is telling us. What is the teacher in here trying to convey? I've heard many a spiritual student, myself often included, say things such as, I feel as if I truly don't belong here. And I think this is because we're so busy trying to conform to something that we are not. The Tao teaches, each time as we go deeper, the atmosphere softens to us. It becomes more comfortable, more congenial. It absorbs us more warmly. We know we belong here. So when we go deeper inside ourselves, we make that connection with the teacher inside, with the divine, with our God selves. We begin to listen within the silence that resides there. We begin to know it well and to listen to its teachings and its messages. And most importantly, we begin to trust it. We begin to trust what we hear. We do this because we begin to listen beyond just the physical realm and our physical ears. We also begin to listen with our heart and our mind and our soul. We begin to practice the art of listening rather than engaging in a form of passive listening. We begin to truly hear what life is telling us, that still small voice. The Bible tells us in Romans 10:17 that faith comes from hearing. And I guarantee now it's not talking about physical hearing. It's talking about hearing within. We know that it comes from hearing in here rather than somewhere out here. So what is in here telling you today? The Tao teachings state the center point relaxes. It loosens, stretches, opens. The center point becomes the shaft of the well within ourself. It is opening wider. Its walls are softening. So I believe that this is in a way telling us to relax, to go deeper within, to listen with the heart, mind, and soul. What we find there, the voice we hear there, will be like nothing we hear out here. It's one that speaks of love. It speaks of resilience, faith, joy. Things that nothing out there can truly ever disturb. It's all in here. We just have to be willing to go beyond. We have to be willing to listen beyond what's out there and instead listen from within. Namaste. I've got a little thing going on over here that y'all can't see, so that's why I'm looking kind of quietly. But the things that happen, online that you can't see, or in here that you can't see what's happening out there. Okay. But now I wanted to talk about some Unity Weekend updates. So first of all, we've got, which you're tuning in right now, but we've got our regular 10 o'clock a.m. Sunday service, and it will be live streamed until further notice, and we will let everyone know when we're able to meet back in person, and I'm hoping that sooner rather than later so we can see your faces again. We also have our Food for Spiritual Thought. We've got one today right after the service. It's at 11:45 a.m. We tend to go to about 12:30, and that's on Zoom. And we're currently talking about Reverend Linda Martella Whitsett's Divine Audacity book. We've got our midweek prayer circle with prayer chaplain Josie Collins, and I believe our licensed Unity teacher Barry Roberts is assisting with that right now while Josie is out of town. So we invite you to just take time to enjoy this at noon on Wednesdays and just kind of give yourself a pause in the middle of the day. It's a very wonderful, refreshing way to do that. We've got our Thursday virtual lunch, and this is at noon on Zoom, so we invite you to join us. We don't really have an agenda necessarily. We just kind of get together and talk, although last week we played a little bit of Unity trivia, and everyone did great, so that was fun. We've now got our Friday fellowship that is also now meeting on Zoom, and that is on Fridays at 10 o'clock. So please contact Diane Gould or Ann for your invitation and join us for that. We've got our prayer and meditation circle, which is our normal early service on Sundays at 8:30 a.m. We've got our virtual youth ed still taking place. And we have two new items, so I invite you to check the Thursday e-blast. One of those is there's going to be a new virtual book study forming, and that's going to be at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening starting on May 5th. And I will send out an extra blast tomorrow for everyone to get more details on that. Nancy Sundahl will be leading that, and she has narrowed down a date, time, and a book. So we'll blast that out tomorrow so you know how to get your book and you know how to join that group. And we are also offering a temporary food support via Unity's Porch Light Supplies. So check your Thursday e-blast for that, or send me an email at minister@unity.org for more information on that. And now I mentioned that our youth ed are meeting, so I would like to invite you to join me in blessing our children and our youth education department. Children and Youth Education Department, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ you are. So while you're preparing your tithes and offerings, I remind you that Silent Unity is standing by to support you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And also consider joining us for one of our many online gatherings via Zoom. I know it's easy to feel kind of disconnected right now, but your spiritual community is still here. We're still here to support you, and we just want for you to know that you can reach out to us at any time. And I would like to now, I changed our script a little bit, so I'm having to remind myself of what I did to change it. But anyway, so I'd like to now invite you to please take your offerings and tithes and place them over your hands or hearts as we say together our offertory blessing. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. And I want to thank those of you who are continuing to donate during this time. Your generosity has been much appreciated. Obviously, we aren't meeting in person, but we still have the building. We've still got wonderful music like Pete. We've still got a wonderful minister like Evan. We've got, office staff. We still got all kinds of things going on here. So your generation is very, very welcome, very appreciated. I am very, very grateful, and I stand here in a state of gratitude for that. So I would like to now invite our virtual ushers to please come forward while we sing our new offertory song, Thank You.